Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Bloomerang Academy, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Today, we're going to learn about Bloomerang's integration with QGIV and QGIV's auction platform. I'm very excited to welcome our guests from QGIV. Thank you so much for joining us, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me. Thanks everyone for signing on. I'm excited to spend the next little bit with you guys talking about QGIV auctions and the wonderful partnership we have with Bloomerang and our integration. So a little bit about me. I head up the customer experience team here at QGIV. Next month will be my 12-year anniversary. So I've been here for quite a while. I'm seeing the product grow, and that's been really exciting. We're in Florida. Most of us are in Florida, so it's kind of sunny and 85 and getting a little more humid here. As far as introducing myself, just a little bit about me. I've been in this role for 12 years because I'm super passionate about building client relationships and helping drive success for our nonprofit clients. I love doing it. Some other things, travel. I can't wait to safely get back on a plane and get out there. I've been missing that a lot. I'm sure most of you have. Starting books and not finishing them. I'll take a book recommendation from anybody, put them in the chat, and I will get them from Amazon. They'll sit on my desk and I probably won't finish them. And then charcuterie and cheese is my true passion in life. By the water with a glass of wine is really my perfect evening. So that's a little bit about me, but I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my camera, and I will dive right into the presentation. Alrighty, so today we are going to talk about 5 things to consider for your 2021 auctions. When we talk through that, I'm going to kind of interweave how the auction platform on the QGIV side can help you with those 5 things. Then I'm going to dive into some client examples and show you some real events, past and present, that our clients have used, so you can kind of see them in action. We'll then dive into the QGIV and Bloomerang integration within our control panel, so you can see how easy that is to set up and how valuable it can be. I'll then spend just a little bit of time talking through pricing and support options on the QGIV side, so you can get some of those details. And we will end with Q&A. And as you saw at the beginning, my colleague, Chris Murata, our head of product, is here to help with those questions. So thanks for joining me today. Let's kick it off and dig right in. So 5 things to consider for your 2021 auction. First and foremost, probably seems obvious, but ensure that you are able to support in-person, virtual, and now hybrid events. Hybrid events are definitely something we're seeing people move to, even late last year, definitely early this year. So, we think it's really important for you to meet your donors where they are. Having an auction platform that empowers you to host an event that can be accessed regardless of where your donors feel most comfortable is an absolute must these days, which obviously isn't news to you. You certainly don't want to lose your audience. So enabling them to participate, check in, check out, arrange pickup or shipping for the items that they've won from anywhere is super, super valuable. So we've even seen a number of our clients, I would probably say most, actually grow their audiences when they have adopted like a technology for their auction, and even with some peer-to-peer stuff, just because people are more accessible at home. And so that's been really great to see as well. So how can QGIV help? Regardless of the type of auction that you're hosting, our platform makes it really easy for people to register for the auction, check in at any time before, participate, and pay for their items right on the app or on the web. So even when we're all back to normal, and I'm doing that with like kind of quotation marks around it, it's going to be a really great way to engage supporters who want to attend an in-person event but can't make it. Or frankly, I think some people will prefer not to attend an in-person event and want the flexibility of participating at home after last year. So one thing that's really handy is how the platform handles registrations. It guides your participants through creating an account, logging in, and downloading the app. If that's the guest preference, we'll talk a little bit about it later, but we also have web bidding available. So there's a very small learning curve, if you will. So you'll actually see in examples later how our clients have incorporated some tutorials that we've provided right within their events, whether that's a video or PDF. Maybe they'll use our resources or even make their own spin on them. but it's super helpful to incorporate those so that there are no issues along the way. They can see all of the auction items and any additional items like fund a need opportunities, raffle tickets, drink tickets in the app and online as well. So once you've ended the auction and opened checkout, they can actually pay their total right on their phones or desktop. The great thing here is real-time reporting is driven back into your QGIV control panel, and you're able to see who has paid in real time and even force payments, since we do collect payment information up front to get your participants checked in. So there is a ton of flexibility here in our process to fit whatever your use case is, what your audience looks like, whether that is one or the other or kind of a mix of where folks are at. Number 2, make sure you're building an auction that highlights your brand. Building a great auction event page is super important for 2 pretty obvious reasons. 1, it gives you the opportunity to make a case for people who are getting involved. Sharing stories and photos that show participants who or what their money will help is a compelling way to get them involved, like it is with all fundraising initiatives. And 2, it gives you a central hub for virtual events. So even when we see social distancing restrictions ease and more comfort surrounding your donors, many people still are not going to be completely comfortable attending in-person events. So having a central place that people can go to interact with your auction, get the information that they need virtually, and interact with each other, like I said, will really make sure that you have the most possible participants and a kind of streamlined experience for them. You're going to use this page to take registrations and share event information, of course, but there are a lot of other things that you can do as well. So this is a really great place to display your sponsors' logos, which sponsors have really been appreciating since traditional signage really isn't an option in the virtual setting. You can also share event updates, show progress towards fundraising goals, and set up a donation form. Make sure you include those impact statements, always helpful. And then one thing that is almost always incorporated is the practice of embedding videos on the event page. So there are a plethora of platforms out there that have already existed or even popped up in the last year or so based on demand, and clients are using all of those to live stream their entire programs or maybe just pieces of it. Facebook and YouTube are 2 popular ones that we see many of our clients using. And on our platform, you can integrate with YouTube Live. You can also, in a couple of weeks, also integrate with Facebook Live as well. So that's coming soon. On the QGIV side, and I truly mean this, building an event, an auction event specifically, really couldn't be easier. Designing your event page, customizing the registration process, and adding video and custom content is really very simple. Our interface ensures that you don't need to know HTML or CSS to build a really striking, great looking page. And it's simple for everyone, which is really something that we're passionate about because we want to make it easy and we want it to look good. So a lot of our interface is kind of drag and drop. Our theme tab here on the screen would allow you to set primary colors, upload background images, adjust the font. Very easy 1 or 2 click things that really can make a big difference and help you get the branding that you're looking for. We also give you access to the receipts that go out to your participants and your donors. So you do have full access to those for any content changes you want to make. Maybe you want to add a logo, a signature, whatever, you have full access to those too to continue the brand even via email. All right, number 3, which I think probably should have been number 1, make participating easy. I know it seems straightforward, maybe doesn't deserve its own bullet point, but I think it does, because especially with virtual and hybrid events, you're fighting with so many distractions than if you had someone at an actual event. You probably realized that after the last year. So humans are pretty predictable, right? So if something is participating, or if participating in something, is hard or even slightly confusing from time to time, they just generally don't participate. So you want to make sure that it's streamlined, easy, and that any question that pops up can be easily answered so they don't get distracted and move on to the next virtual event. So the big questions to ask here are, can participants add additional items like the fund a need, store purchases, even an additional donation, maybe on top of their registration to their cart and just check out once and have a streamlined kind of process there? Or is it multiple transactions? Is it easy to find items that they might be interested in once they've registered and entered the auction? How about placing a bid? Is that straightforward? Is it easy to build a watch list and keep an eye on things that you're particularly interested in? How about communication? Are they receiving communication from you on how they should participate and when things are happening? Are they told when they've been outbid and need to go back and kind of adjust that? And maybe even more important, does the staff feel empowered by the tools that they have so they're not frazzled during the event? And it can just be, kind of a low key day where you're getting to enjoy the event, help donors, things like that. So those are just some questions to think about. So you are providing a really easy, streamlined experience for your participants. With QGIve, you can address all of these things. Surprise, surprise, right? It only takes a minute or two for your participants to claim their ticket, enter some information, and get into the auction. It's obviously a huge plus for virtual events because participants can literally do everything on their own, but it's also really useful for in-person events. Instead of starting the night by standing in line, which is kind of what people are used to, your participants can actually check in ahead of time before they get to the event, or skip the line, head over, get a snack, get a drink, and check in while they're socializing so that they don't have to stand in line and have that be the first experience that they're having. It also frees up your staff for other activities because you have a shorter line and less folks that you have to help. Adding items to your auction is a breeze. We have an item import tool that you can use. You can also set up a fund to need items and other store purchases very easily with each of these categories, meaning items, fund to need, store items. You can set specific timeframes, not only for bidding or buying those items, but also for previewing those items. It's awesome to give folks a preview of what's to come to get them engaged and excited about your event versus that making them wait until kind of the day of. So that's a great tool to use as well. The app experience overall for your donors is super engaging, and we've heard the word fun even used on lots of occasions. That was really the goal on the product side was just to make a really engaging experience with our app and be kind of app forward. So you can swipe to bid, receive push notifications from your organization, build a watch list of interesting items, and even search by tag. And the list goes on as far as that experience goes. I also mentioned push notifications earlier. They can be really beneficial for lots of things. Probably the most popular ways to use those push notifications are when you're nearing the end of your bidding window and want to remind everyone to get in their last minute bids. Maybe when you're about to hit an important fundraising milestone and want to encourage your donors to get involved and kind of push you over that goal. And even sometimes if you have some items that we'll call stragglers that maybe aren't getting as much love as others and you want to highlight them and try to drive bids, that's a great use too. We have actually seen our clients get really super creative with those. We allow you to schedule them if you want to, but also provide a really easy interface for you to get in and kind of ad hoc, depending on what the event is calling for, get those sent out. And then let's not forget checkout. We've all been in the checkout line before. When we're ready to just take off the fancy clothes and get the comfy clothes on back at home. With QGIve, participants can tap to pay on their phone or on the web, and item winners can drop by the table, show their QR code, or provide their bidder number on the way out to easily pick up their items. If they're a virtual bidder and there is no table, you can provide pickup instructions right in the app or on the web, and make it very simple. People who owe money for like a fund to need item or another purchase, but didn't get an actual auction item, don't actually have to do anything or wait in any line. If they're actually there, they can pay on the app so they don't have to get in line at all, like I said. So again, just since we collect that payment information first, you can always do batch checkout for people who aren't maybe following the prompts or fell asleep early or whatever the case may be. You can actually go into your virtual terminal, which is kind of the staff hub for the event where you can manage everything and check them out, one at a time or in a group if there are several people who haven't checked out. All right. I've been talking about the app experience and the web experience. And so I just want to kind of dive into those two pieces a little bit now that we're talking about making things easy for your participants. As I mentioned, the app is the most engaging experience and the one that we recommend. If you're worried that your supporters will have a hard time with the app, I'm here to reassure you it is not difficult. When someone registers, the confirmation page will have the information they need to download the app. But they'll also get an email containing instructions. So if they don't want to move forward on the check-in process immediately, they certainly can come back to that and do it at a later time. Something that I have seen here is our organizations providing some sort of incentive with a specific date assigned to it. Maybe it's another raffle or something like that, where if folks get registered and checked in, have their payment information in, then they're going to be entered to in a raffle, to win something. And that just encourages people to be ready and ready to go, like when your live stream starts or when it's the night of the event. So I highly recommend thinking through that. One of the examples I show in a few is City Year, and they were doing kind of like this live trivia. And if they got registered by a certain date, they were going to provide whatever their favorite cocktail, whatever the team's favorite cocktail was. They were sending like the makings of whatever that cocktail is for them to kick off their night. So kind of a cool idea, and just gets people to pay attention and be ready to go when the event starts. The app guides them through setting up an account, entering their payment information, and getting checked in. So that part of it is really easy. For the folks that are not as comfortable with the app, we know that they're out there. We know some people are not big fans of technology, and we know others may not be super convinced that they want to download an app and get involved. So the app, the auction item kind of preview area is really important because you want them to see the awesome items that you have so that they'll be more inclined to participate. But if they're not sure of that, they can always come to web bidding, sign up, enter their claim code there, and be able to bid. Check in first of all, and then bid on any of the items right from the auction items page. View their auction activity through a bidder dashboard, which you see kind of on the screen. I'm sure it's small, but you can kind of see items that you've bid on, what your payment method is, what your ticket details are, and kind of your running total. And they can also check themselves out and pay online here. So no one has to download the app, but we do make it easy to transition if you're in the web and kind of getting into it and want to have that full, more engaging experience, to switch over to the app and have that experience instead. So you can go between as well. Alrighty, number 4, simplify check-in and check-out. So I've been sharing a little bit about streamlining check-in and check-out already and how it helps participants start and end the night on a positive note, but it's also really useful for staff. And that's what I want to kind of use number 4 to talk about. Self check-in and check-out help reduce the amount of work staff needs to do at the beginning and end of the event and frees them up, kind of like we talked about before, for other things like mingling with donors. And so it's really important that the tools are straightforward and super helpful to help streamline that time. So a few things. First and foremost, check-in. So I'm going to show you examples of how other organizations have provided instructions well before the event. But if you're going to be in person, be sure you also have printed versions of the resources that we provide to you, whether you use our resources or put your own spin on them, put your own branding on them. And just make sure that you're doing kind of a training session with your volunteers so that they're super familiar with the process of check-in. So if questions do pop up, it's an easy answer. Over at QGive, we are happy to also train your volunteers on those things. Anything on the QGive side as far as check-in goes and that type of thing. So if you have a group and you need help, we're happy to help with that. Second, for checkout, everyone can check themselves out. So have an area for those participants who have done self-checkout so they can breeze by and get their items. And then maybe have another area for those that need some extra help at that time. QGive also lets you track fulfillment in the virtual terminal, again, that staff hub, which makes it really easy to streamline who hasn't gotten items after the buzz of the night is over. So you can kind of reconcile that and make sure everyone has what they need. And then number 3, stay mobile. We have a mobile virtual terminal app that supports auction management, check-in, and check-out all via an app. And I'm excited to say that it is available on Apple or Android phone or tablet. We have an app for some of our other products that right now is Apple only, but with our auctions, we're able to support Apple or Android, and soon all of our products will be supported on both, which we're very excited about. Something else I'll mention here is we have a team of folks that have put out some really great resources that include checklists and best practices surrounding some of the things that we've learned from our clients about check-in and check-out best practices. So you can go ahead and check out our blog and see some of those items in case they would be helpful. All righty, we're going to end on a creative note. Number 5 is get interactive. So we've been talking a lot about virtual auctions, but I want to pay some special attention to methods you can use to make them engaging. Again, back to the distractions, lots of distractions, want to make sure we're keeping people engaged. So we've seen lots of organizations getting really creative in this specific area with the types of virtual entertainment that they use. Boys and Girls Clubs of Southern Minnesota did a series of Facebook Live videos and had a ton of success getting people engaged that way. Rather than like kind of one live stream, they did kind of a series and did it through Facebook, had a lot of like engaging comments and things like that. We've seen others mix kind of live videos with pre-recorded ones. This can be fun and also just kind of a great way to avoid some technical difficulties if your program includes multiple people who are maybe in separate locations. Others have done streaming videos of more interactive activities. So cocktail making, like maybe there's generally a signature cocktail at your in-person event. So you do that via video, maybe before the event starts, so you can kind of make the cocktail together. Live entertainment, folks are still pulling in their MCs that they would have at the live events as help and entertainment. We've seen full-blown productions for folks, but you don't have to get that fancy. There are easy things you can do. Trivia pops up a ton, bingo pops up a ton, just things to keep people kind of engaged and get their attention. So although some folks feel as though virtual events do have like their limitations, and I agree they do, there's also a lot of room for creativity with these too. And we've seen a lot of that, and it's been really inspiring. Raffles also translate really well to virtual events. We're seeing lots of nonprofits do just straightforward raffles. We have seen some huge success, even recently with a Peloton raffle, a couple of cars, a wheelbarrow of cheer, just a wheelbarrow just full of alcohol and refreshments, and just like very simple, straightforward raffles, raising a ton of money for our clients. These kind of high dollar items that people want. And then we're seeing other creative raffles on the screen. There's a wine pull bingo that one of our clients did that was really kind of neat and something that I hadn't seen before. One of the fun parts of an in-person event, obviously, is seeing people and spending time with other donors, being social. And obviously with virtual events, we lose that. So just because it's harder doesn't mean it's impossible. Facebook Live videos give people a way to engage with your organization and each other throughout your event. You could also encourage participants to join their own Zoom rooms, which have become more popular, so that they can participate together even when they're not physically together. In a couple of the events, at least one that I'm going to show you today, they did a concept of virtual house parties, where the folks at the house party were fundraising for them, and just kind of still tried to build that community around the event, even though they weren't all in person. And I know it sounds simple, but hashtags are really also an easy way to encourage people to participate. We had an example of a nonprofit that encouraged their auction participants to still get really dressed up and fancy for their virtual gala, and then ask people to share their outfits on an event hashtag so that they could then easily pull those, streamline those and share them like during the live broadcast. Again, you're just driving this feeling of community even when you're not together. So there are lots of cool use cases for that. 5Ks and 10Ks at the beginning of all of this, when those were still fully virtual. Folks would sometimes in the registration email send out a PDF of the bib so that you could actually still print it out, decorate it like you would if you were going to be actually running, take pictures, share a hashtag so that you could just kind of feel like you still had that community of runners, even though you weren't all running or walking together. So seen a lot of that and kind of video montages and things like that with those photos. And it's just a really great way to still feel connected. All right, so those are the 5 things. So let's do a quick recap. Definitely make sure you're supporting in-person, virtual, and now hybrid events. Make sure you have a technology that's going to support you in any of those or a mixture of those. Build an auction that highlights your brand. Make sure that's staying consistent throughout the event page, the receipts, the communication on social media. Make participating easy. Again, this is probably the most important thing on this list. Simplify check-in and check-out. Make it a no-brainer. Make it easy. Make it streamlined. And then, of course, get interactive. All right, so I want to show you guys some real examples and then also show the integration between QGIV and Bloomerang so you can see how easy it is to set up and how much value that it adds. But first, I want to do a quick poll. So before we get started, I'm curious how many of you on the call are using the Bloomerang integration with your QGIV account, assuming you're a QGIV client. I know there are some non-clients on the line as well, but we're really interested to see if you are using it. You should have a pop-up that's asking you the question. I'm going to get into my next kind of show and tell, and then we'll revisit this when we come back. All right, so first, I am going to show you some events. So this is the Salvation Army. They did a virtual luncheon and they streamed that via YouTube Live here on the screen so that people could access it right from the hub page. We did talk about having pages where everything is available and it being the central hub. So they've got their video live casted here. They talk more about what they do, show progress towards their goal. And then they have some of those pre-recorded videos. What is the Salvation Army? More about some of the programs that they have. And then a few more calls to action here at the bottom to learn more and become a volunteer, join their email list, things like that. They also have a programs page here that links over to a custom page that they built that just talks more about the Salvation Army in more detail and all of the areas of service that they provide. And then kind of the last thing I'll show you on theirs is the auction items page here. And I mentioned this several times in the PowerPoint, but essentially a lot of folks are including those tutorials right on their item page to make sure it's very easy and accessible for your donors and they have the help that they need. And we always encourage a contact or contact information, I should say, for someone who is a real life person that can help from your organization. So this is a great example. I will say that I'm going to send all of these links. Well, Bloomerang is going to send all the links. It'll be kind of the last slide. So you'll be able to click through and look at some of the other things. I'm just touching on some of the key points in some of these. We have another event, Mr. Central Florida. This is a local client, Central Florida Speech and Hearing Center. They did kind of a pageant style event with some local gentlemen. And they actually tied our peer-to-peer into this auction event too, which we're seeing a lot of, so that the fundraising maybe extends before or beyond the actual auction event. So on their homepage, you have some calls to action. They have their impact statements with images here that link over to the donation page, showing exactly what a $60 donation can do. They are highlighting some of their auction items via our image widget. And something that I like that they did was they introduced new items weekly for a little bit of time to keep people engaged, keep people coming back to the app, and that type of thing. So that was good for engagement. They've got their sponsors listed here on their homepage, where their presenting sponsor has a little bit more real estate there. I did want to show you when you pull in kind of peer-to-peer, this event is over, but these were the fundraisers that participated in that peer-to-peer event and who were raising money and kind of competing in the overall competition that led up to the auction. And this is just a leaderboard page that shows the winners, how much they raised, and I could click through and actually go to their fundraising pages too. So it's a great way to connect, again, that hub feel, and just connect kind of everything together. Next up, City Year. I mentioned them in the presentation. So they're a large organization that have chapters kind of all over the US. And so what they do is they built out a template so that each of their areas can kind of clone the auction event, which I didn't actually mention in the presentation, but we do allow you to clone. So you don't have to start from scratch for each event, but essentially you can clone the event and kind of adjust it. So their template includes these 4 call to action buttons at the very top of the event so people can very clearly get to where they want, whether it's to register for the event or the auction, to make a donation, to view the silent auction items, or the FAQs. The FAQs are a really important part of an online event, virtual event, definitely an auction, but any event that you're doing, because it's really important with all of the virtual activity lately that you're telling people and communicating and setting clear expectations for how you want your donors to participate in the event and where can they get help. And just anticipate some of those questions that they may have. If I scroll down, something that was kind of cool is that they did a TikTok on exactly how to register. This is the client that gave them a deadline for when to register by so that they could get that cocktail making kit for their trivia team. And they walked them through the process. Videos, of course, are very impactful on an event like this. But the FAQs, and they take all kinds of different forms. But this is just kind of a text page that includes some links and some troubleshooting steps so that they have somewhere to go, and it's on the page that they're interacting with the event on, which is kind of really important. Same client, different look and feel. They cloned it, changed the background image, changed the theme color, some of the content, but made it really easy for them to kind of keep a similar theme, but change it for their look and feel for the event that they were doing. Same components, FAQs, silent auction items, things like that. Next up is the Oyster Roast 2021. So they did an online auction and then a gourmet food sale, which was kind of neat. And what I like here is that they make it, again, right at the top, they're going to give you some calls to action. Registration is free. So get registered and come participate, or donate if you're not interested in participating. They have their sponsors rotating on the homepage, and then some additional information on how to get involved, videos. If you keep scrolling, they provide kind of anchor buttons throughout the event to get people where they want to go to make it easy. So you can click on their auction items, their raffle tickets, or their gourmet food sale. I'm going to click on auction items so you can see what that looks like. Here are the auction items. You can click on the item, scroll through images that have been uploaded. And obviously, if this event was still open, you'd be able to bid right from this page if you were a web bidder. We get that information on Givey to make it very easy for them to transition to Givey if they'd like to. But that's the items page. And then if I were to click on maybe like gourmet foods, they're using our store functionality here to sell some of their casseroles, soups, baked goods, things like that. So kind of a different setup there. They've got those facts, those FAQs, which is really important. Here is Rec to Connect. I've got 2 more examples for you. So this one, again, looks a little different. They did something pretty cool, kind of like the Central Florida speech and hearing example. What happened here is they did kind of a celebrity bartending event. So they had the live event, and then each of the celebrity bartenders, again, used peer-to-peer. So they had their own page. If we click on the celebrity bartenders, we're able to see them, and it seamlessly links over to the peer-to-peer page, and it kind of feels like it's the same event, even though it's a different event. And then this is where those folks are. If I were to click on Mark, he's one of the celebrity bartenders. You can kind of see his video where he's making his cocktail, and this is where people can come and support him. So that's kind of a cool idea. Their items here, again, it looks a little different than everyone else's, but how do I bid? And they're using our video. They didn't have to do any work other than just embed it right onto their site. And then you'll see their auction items there. They've got a 50-50 raffle, a Fund the Need. And then I'm going to end with this one. So what I want to say first and foremost is everything that I just showed you was done with our out-of-the-box tools, drag and drop, theme tab, very easy to create. This client added just a wee bit of custom CSS and maybe HTML, not really my thing, just to do some fun things on their page. Like this little kind of wiggle down here with the Facebook, that's not standard. The way that these pop out, they just added kind of a little pizzazz. So you're able to do that if you have the skill set and want to add a little bit more. But as you can see from the other events, it's not necessary. So for this event, they're the ones that did the virtual house parties and tied in peer-to-peer. They did a raffle, they did a silent auction to kind of culminate it all. And then they had their live streamed event. They just kind of finished everything up and had a very successful auction, and we're very happy. They've got their raffle here, their silent auction items, and then the fund the mission. And I won't click through, I've been showing you those. But again, sponsors down here. So anyways, we'll send you these links. I just wanted you to be able to kind of click around, take a look and see what they look like versus me telling you in a PowerPoint. You'll be able to see what an actual client site looks like. With that, we're going to head over to the QGIV control panel. So this is our control panel. This is where you would be able to access any forms that you were using with QGIV. Your auction form would be listed as one of the products if you were using auctions, but we're going to focus on the Bloomerang and QGIV integration today. So under the reporting section, you can come to service integrations. When I load this page, I'm able to add a new integration. If you're brand new, you just put in your credentials and it's going to activate that sync between QGIV and Bloomerang. You're then going to be brought to this main kind of default settings page where you determine how you want us to interact with your data. I'm going to walk through some of these settings. So first and foremost, we give you two options here, manual and continuous, for the frequency in which you want this integration to export. So for manual, I would probably recommend, especially if you're brand new, maybe setting an export data start date and an end date for smaller subsets of data. Make sure you have everything mapped right. Make sure you understood all the settings. And then the goal really is to move you over to continuous so you don't have to think about it all the time. So anyways, you get full control over that though. You get to decide. If you do continuous, it's going to push out data once an hour at 15 minutes past the hour. So that's kind of the cadence it flows at. Over here, you can exclude offline and matching donations if you would like to. Some people kind of have their own process for that, don't want us pushing that data over, totally fine. You can also override contact opt-in information. So the folks on our side can include it or not include it. If you just want to override that and set email interest to all, you can do that here. You can also enable soft credits and mark donations as acknowledged if you would like to. If you ever have a change in staff or permission levels or things like that, you can always re-authenticate the app to a different user without having to reset everything up too, which is a nice feature to have. So the last thing we're going to do here is just set some default values. So if I don't have additional mappings, which we're going to get to in a second, you can set defaults that will be where the data is sent to if there is not another mapping there for that data. So you'll go ahead and set those. The fund is required. The campaign and appeal are optional. And then you guys have a donation note field over in Bloomerang. And if you wanted any additional information to be sent over for that field, we have quite a list here for you so you can get that sent over and to reside in the donation note field. So that's just a basic setup. And now essentially it's ready to go. But I would recommend that you go ahead and click on this little caret to the left of your integration. And you think about how you're using QGIV. Is it just the auction? Do you have other things going on? Do you want to route things in a different way depending on the item or the event that they registered for or things like that? So this is where you can add optional mappings. Optional mappings let you choose kind of the entity on the QGIV side, whether that's a QGIV form, a peer-to-peer event, an auction package, an auction item. And you get to map those funds, campaigns, and appeals to a different place than your defaults if necessary. So because we are focused on auctions today, I'm going to go ahead and add a mapping for an auction. I'm going to click on the Totally 80s auction. You'll see here too, although most of the time you're going to be mapping to a specific place, we do give you the opportunity to exclude. So sometimes maybe it's a $0 registration and you don't want it to go over. You could exclude that registration type and just keep it from sending over to Bloomerang at all. We're pulling in all, if you have this checked, we're pulling in all active funds, campaigns, and appeals. So you're going to get that list right from your Bloomerang account, and you're going to be able to pick what you want. We have an auctions event fund set up, so I'm going to put that in there, and optionally I could add a campaign or appeal. If I had multiple auctions going on, I could just go ahead and add as many mappings as needed to get those where they need to go. Then I'm going to hit save. These are custom mappings. So if you have additional information that you want to get sent over that is not the standard donation information, meaning the gift information, the donor information, and you have maybe custom fields or other standard fields that you want to go to a specific place in Bloomerang, you can go ahead and do some even more granular mapping down here under the custom mappings area. It looks very much like the optional mappings. You're going to add the custom mapping. You're going to determine if you want that on the constituent or transaction record. You're going to get a list of those fields, and you're going to be able to enter, in this case, a static item to go over to Bloomerang, or in this case, it'll kind of link a Bloomerang field to a QGIF field. So definitely can get as granular as you need to get. Now that we have that added, I want to run an export, but before I do that, I am going to show you the export history quickly. Over here, if you have this integration or any others, maybe you're using like an email integration, which I'll talk about a little later, you'll be able to see the status of those pretty quickly. So the green dot means everything went over fantastically. If there is an orange dot, that means maybe a transaction or two had an issue. And if there's a red dot, that means the whole batch failed. So I can click on the batch and see exactly what transactions were included in that batch. If it were to be a failure, you would have a red failure button here that you could click on. You would get the exact reason for the failure and a way to mark it as retry if you want us to retry it once you fix the issue, if possible. Or you can mark it to success if you want to clear the failure, but you've kind of manually entered it on the Bloomerang side. Another thing to note here is that we do have this icon for when a new donor record is created. So if we could not find a match for James Jones, we're going to let you know that we went ahead and created a new donor record for him. So that's, we have a full export history report that lets you pull more than just one batch at a time, but that's just kind of the lay of the land there. So I'm going to go back to service integrations, and I'm going to run the export for, yeah, the 15th. I'll run it here. So we just have a small subset of data. So I'm on manual. I can click the run export whenever I want. It's going to pop over. It's telling me here that only 2 of the 3 transactions were exported and that an issue was found with 1 or more transactions. So I can click on that. You'll see the orange dot that I promised and see what a failure looks like. I can click that and it's saying, oh, this transaction is missing a first name and a last name. And then I can set it to retry or success here. Didn't know that was going to happen, but I'm glad I got to show it. So now I'm going to go over to Bloomerang and I'm going to click on reports. I'm going to go to the reports list, transaction list. And when this loads, you're going to be able to see those couple of donations that we just looked at in the export history tab on QGIV populate here. And then you'd be able to dig into those a little bit deeper and see them on the donor record. So yeah, you see the 2 that I did today. Well, there's more than 2 because there are other accounts connected, but essentially these donations for the auction are here. I can click on them, come over to the constituent record. I can see the transaction ID came over, depending on what my settings were for acknowledgement, those are here. My fund is populated the way that I mapped it. So that's how it works. Pretty easy, can get very granular, can be very simple, but a very powerful tool to save you time when you are getting lots of data in through QGIV. So with that, I'm going to pop back over to the presentation and kind of wrap up. But before I do, Diana, what did we find out with the poll? Do we have anybody on the line that's using the integration?
It looks like we only have 11% of respondents who are currently using the Bloomerang QGIV integration.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to move into just kind of a broad view, just spend a couple of minutes talking about QGIV as a whole. So I know that we were heavily focused on auctions and the Bloomerang integration today, but just want to give you kind of a snapshot. So we have a comprehensive suite of really powerful tools over here at QGIV on top of the auction platform. We do have donation forms, event registration. We have text fundraising with outbound messaging, peer-to-peer, and even some hardware options. We have a handheld kiosk and also card readers, which I kind of spoke about earlier. We also have CRM integration. So like Bloomerang, we allow our organizations like you to save time and easily export your donor data from QGIV into multiple third-party systems. So let's say you're using Bloomerang, but you're also using maybe MailChimp or Constant Contact. Maybe you're using QuickBooks for accounting. You can actually have all three of those set up on the QGIV side, configured the way that you want to with three different kind of sets of settings. That's a weird sentence, but sets of settings. And you can have all of those pushing data to those third-party systems. So you're not locked to just one. As far as integrations go, we also have matching gift integrations with Double the Donation, HEP Data, and Cyber Grants that help you expand your reach there. I think there's a stat that, no, I know that there's a stat that is like $4 to $7 billion in unmatched gifts are left on the table every year. So personally, being like kind of a client advocate on my side, I'm really pushing these on people because get some of that money. Let's not leave it on the table. So we're excited to be able to offer those as well. So here's a bigger picture of the solutions that we offer so you can kind of see that. I think most of all, the thing that we offer at QGIV is flexibility. The start package that kind of sits at the top of this slide is our home base, your home base as a QGIV client. So you're always going to get all of these features with no recurring fee. You're only going to pay transaction fees when you process on our platform on the start plan. Our start plan includes our unlimited donation forms, which are newly designed and gorgeous, as well as event registrations, full training and support, thermometers, the matching gifts we just talked about, gift assist, all of those kind of year-round basic fundraising tools. And then any of the solutions that you see below that, data, mobile suite, peer-to-peer, and auctions can be added for just a month or a quarter at a time. And that decision was made on the QGIV side so that we could remain super flexible for you. Oftentimes our clients want to try something or they haven't done something before and they're not sure how their audience is going to react. And so, but they're kind of hesitant because they don't want to be in a long-term contract. So we like to keep it very simple and flexible for you so that you can add them for a month or a quarter. Let's say you do an auction and you only need it for 2 months a year and you're never going to need it for more than that. You can add it for 2 months. You do not have to be stuck in a long-term contract. So anyways, it's one of my favorite things about our platform because it allows us to remove some of that hesitation that our clients have with trying new things and lets them scale and try new fundraising opportunities. So today we talked about auctions and our integration. So we've included 2 slides that I'll get into a little bit more detail for you to peruse after the presentation. Essentially with our auctions, you can add those with at least 30 days notice at a rate of $229 a month or $597 a quarter. And again, just 3 things I want to quickly reiterate. This will also include all of the year-round functionality that you're going to see in the bullet points on that start package. You are not going to be locked into a long-term contract, and every single QGIV user gets unlimited training and live customer support. We're here to help. We're here to train. We're here to train your volunteers. We're here to answer reactive questions, whatever we can do to help. And then if you want to add the Bloomerang integration or any of the other integrations on the email or accounting side, we have the data package. The data package is $15 a month or $30 a quarter. We kept this price really low to make it super accessible because we think it's really important. Getting data to those third-party systems is important, and it can be very time consuming if you don't have an integration like the one that we've built with Bloomerang. We also have on top of those integrations, custom reports, advanced stats, offline donations and registration. So let's say you get check or cash gifts or sponsorship money for your auction and want to enter that so your thermometer stays accurate in real time. You can do that with this package. Like I said, you're getting a copy of this presentation, a couple of testimonials from clients who are using both QGIV and Bloomerang, so you can look at those. We also absolutely love and are passionate about being part of our nonprofit community, and we've gotten some recent kind of recognition surrounding our involvement, and so we wanted to share those with you too. You can look at those on your own time if you're interested. And with that, I am done talking at you, and I am going to stop talking and hand it over to Chris Murata, our VP of Product, who has been kind of monitoring the questions, and we'll do some live Q&A for the remainder of our time. Are you there, Chris?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Awesome. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, so we got a few questions that came in. A couple, so there's one about max bid, whether you could set a max bid in the app. Yes, you can. I answered that one in the Q&A, as well as finding and creating donors in Bloomerang and the criteria that we use. So for individuals, we do look at the first name, which also includes common nicknames, last name, email address, and we also look at the street address and the last 7 of the phone number. Jennifer, there's a question about offering dedicated remote support during the event, if you wanted to touch on that.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we did offer remote and on-site. Right now, we kind of have on-site pause, but for a 5-hour block, we can offer a dedicated rep with a dedicated phone number for remote support for $250.
Thank you. We also had a question about segmenting auction items by categories so that donors can filter on certain items. And so we do offer a way, so in our auction system, you can set them up as auction items or store items, which are fixed price, or the fund to need items. In the event, those are all shown as separate categories. You can also add search tags. So if you want to group your items by, things like gift baskets, wine pulls, alcohol, whatever it is that you're giving away, you can also add search tags, and it makes it really easy for bidders in the app to search for those and find those. We are getting ready to introduce filtering on the web. So I know Jennifer shared a screenshot of what the items look like on the online portion. And we are currently working on adding the filtering interface to that page as well. We also had a question about how QGIV compares to other auction software as Auctria. So we are really focused on flexibility within the QGIV platform. So whereas some of the other auction platforms out there sort of focus on forcing you to work within their system or setting up your event around their system, our goal was to just try and provide as much flexibility as we possibly could to meet the needs of various organizations, various event types. And so in general, what you'll find with the QGIV system is that there's just a lot of flexibility in the setup. There's a lot of flexibility on the donor side now, especially now that we've introduced web-based bidding. So, donors have the option to download an app if that's what they prefer, if it's an in-person event or a hybrid event. If it's a remote event, they can bid that way. They can also log in and bid using the web interface as well. And then another goal that we had was just really making it as easy as possible to get the data out of our system so that you have everything you need, same night to get it into a CRM like Bloomerang or any other integration that you might be using. So we just wanted to make that experience as easy as possible. So I think those are the things that you'll find are really, really easy with QGIV. And then let's see, we had one more question about what success have our clients seen using our recently launched web-based platform. So we're still collecting a lot of data around that, but we did pull some of the data around where people are bidding over the last couple of events that we've had. And right now it's about 60-40 split between about 60% using the app and 40% using the web. So a lot of people are definitely using the web option. I think it just really depends on the type of event that you're running and what people would be most interested there. And then we just had another question from Melissa that came in that asked if there's a fire sale option for items that did not sell at the event. So making that easy to do is something that we're working on. We've heard that a lot. And so that is something that we're going to be adding into the system. And right now, what we do have is a way for you to see all the items that did not sell at the event And essentially you can create a new category to move those items into. It's just a little bit manual and it's not the greatest user experience, but that's definitely something that we're working on improving. And then Carly had a question that just came in. When QGIF imports constituents into Bloomerang instantly, how does it flag existing accounts in order to avoid duplicate accounts? We have a really well-documented series of duplicate checking that we do when we have really for any of these integrations that we work directly with the vendor on and make sure that we have the best logic in place to prevent duplicates. And I think that's it for all the questions in the chat. Does anybody else have questions we can answer?
Glad you were here, Chris. Thanks for taking all of those.
You're welcome.
It looks like that might be it. The only thing I'll add there, we're going to have our contact information on the next screen. I'll actually go ahead and get there. If any of you want to see the matching logic or the detailed documentation that we have on the integration, in case that would be helpful, we can take that from our help desk, print it to PDF, and get that sent over to you. So you can just reach out to us at info@qgiv.com and we'd be happy to share that with you. And I'm not seeing any other questions pop in, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up. If something comes to mind, definitely use our contact information, and we are happy to address that. But first and foremost, just thank you for joining us today to learn a little bit more about QGIV's auction platform and the Bloomerang integration. We are truly just really thankful for the opportunity to work with amazing partners like Bloomerang. Thanks for having us today, Diana, and amazing clients like the ones that were on the line. So just please feel free to give us a call, send us an email, visit our website. If there's anything that we can answer for you, if you want to see any more examples, if you have questions that pop up when you're kind of clicking through the examples that we send. But thank you so much for your time today. I'm going to stop talking and hand it back over to Diana. Thank you again.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thanks, Chris, for answering all of the wonderful questions that we had today. So thank you very much. If you have additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And we hope to see you in another Academy class again soon. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.